I was stripped away of the comforts of my life. Mm-hmm. I had no friends. I had no parents. I had no security. I knew nobody.
Yeah.
And I went at this on my own. I'm like, I can figure this thing out. We'll figure this thing out. And then I started like allowing myself to be more authentic because my friends expected me to be a certain way. The prankster who brings snakes to the schools and the guy who was at the house parties, you know, doing other stuff. Like it was like, I was like one of those crazy guys.
Yeah.
And then I had to live up to this thing because I thought that's who all my friends expected me to be.
Yes.
So I was stripped away of all that. And I'm like, who am I really?
Yes.
And that allowed like true growth. So sometimes I often say to young kids, it's like, it's really good idea to step away from everybody and everything that you know, traveling abroad. Allowed you to become a better version of who you are. That's where like real growth starts to happen.
When I set a vision in my life and I look at my faith, my family, my business, my health, my wealth, I want other people in these real stories to hear the real stories of that journey.
I have everything that I've wanted, like in terms of family life, beautiful wife, making good money, and like my world's upside down right now in my head.
God is so good. He shows us his hands. Like people think miracles are like, you know, like someone being instantly healed. It's so much more than that. They can be the smallest things where he shows his goodness in your life.
If you think of something and you believe it and you see it in your mind, it's meant for you. Go chase it.
See you in the next episode of Real Stories. Today, I am so excited to share a real story with someone who truly embodies what it means to be lively and connected, present, and very purpose-driven. John Kehagias is a team leader and realtor here at Keller Williams Energy, and he's one of those people who instantly brings warmth into a room. You feel seen, heard, and encouraged just by being around him. John has been consistently successful in real estate, in his career, with his family, and it's not just rooted in transactions, but relationships, community, and genuine care for people. From cruise ships to fitness to leadership to parenting, his life has been a beautiful evolution of growth, courage, and choosing connection over comfort. This is the real story of movement, meaning, service, and becoming the kind of person others feel safe growing around. Welcome, John Kehagias. All right. We're going to start to go through some of the things, and it might sound sort of preset in some of the questions I ask you, and I'm doing this on purpose because I already did this form of interview with you when I got the chance to sit with you to discuss this role that you've now taken as the CEO and team leader of our Keller Williams Energy office. So I already kind of knew how to ask questions to highlight some of the really cool things that you've done in your life. And I want to ask you those questions so that people who might just see you here, who don't know the real John,
the real me,
what that was all about. So I want to go back to sort of your early life, and I want to take us back to little John. Tell us, like, where did you grow up? What was your family like? Yeah, I want to hear about the before I started interviewing you part.
That's an interesting, I was born and raised in Oshawa, actually. There was a lot of people think I was born in Greece because I'm very proud of my Greek heritage. But no, I was born and raised here in the great city of Oshawa, and to my mother and father who immigrated to Canada from Greece. They came here in the 70s, met here, got married. So I come from an immigrant family, born and raised here in a small community not too far from the Oshawa Center, where we got a chance, me and my brother, to play outside. I loved just outside nature. I loved playing in the creek. There was a little park that we grew up in, and we would almost create a dam and then catch crayfish and kind of do all kinds of stuff like this. I wanted to be a marine biologist. I wanted to be some sort of like someone who studies animals. So I was fascinated by animals. I read a lot of books. I read books on snakes, and I would just go out, ride my bike into a field and just come home with a bunch of snakes that my mom had no idea. My mom is terrified of snakes. So I always have this fond memory of, are you familiar with Nob Hill Farms? Did you have a Nob Hill? Okay. So Nob Hill Farms was a very big grocery store. It was almost like a Costco in some ways. And in Oshawa, we would go there, and there was these Nob Hill Farm boxes that you would get. It was like there was plastic ones. It's almost like a laundry basket, and they also had these cardboard ones. And I remember we rode our bikes to a pond area, and we caught like 7 snakes this one day.
Oh my gosh.
And we put them in this Nob Hill Farms box and left it outside of our front door. And I covered it up. And my mom had come home thinking that it was a box that my aunt had dropped off with all the groceries.
Oh God.
And my mom opened it up, like she took the cover off, and she freaked out with all the snakes in there. And I was like, yeah, I was one of those kids. And there was another story, speaking of snakes, I'll just, friends of mine will remember this. In grade 13, OIC year, I caught a few snakes, and I brought them to school, and I let a couple go in the cafeteria.
Gosh, little troublemaker.
A little bit. I put one in someone's backpack. He had no idea. So in class, he opened up his binder, and there was a snake in there. He freaked out.
No kidding.
Yeah, that was kind of like...
The early John.
Yeah, I was a bit of a practical joker. I actually,
Yeah.
there was friends of mine that would be like, oh my God, John is, the guy that would do something funny and crazy. I was kind of that person.
Don't do that to me, okay?
No. I refine my craziness to like jump scares every so often.
Like Luke just did.
Exactly like Luke just did, yes.
Okay, so you're, I guess, putting snakes in backpacks and doing all this stuff as a young boy. And then I know, because I've talked to you about this, that you got into the cruise ship.
Yeah. So
Industry.
I'll tell you how I got to that point. But
Yeah.
growing up here in Oshawa, I just felt like I needed more. My father worked on tanker ships. So my father at 17 years old left his family in Greece to work at sea. So he was making money, sending money back home.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot about this idea. And I think sometimes people will understand this, that our children of immigrants, there's an immigrant mentality, this hard work, this thing, we've come to this country and we owe so much to our country for providing this space where they had come from a country that had no opportunities. It was very, the economy was very bad. So when my father came here, he worked hard. My mother worked hard. She was, peace worker. So they definitely worked very hard. My father worked at sea, and I was always fascinated by this idea of him traveling and working at sea, because I was like, watching a lot of nature shows and seeing the world and how big it is and all these different things. I was like, oh my God, I want to see the world. I was fascinated by my dad telling me stories about traveling to Japan. I was like, that was so cool. And I'm, from Oshawa, and I want to see the world. At 18 years old, I actually signed up to go to the Greek army. I don't know, did I tell you that part? I don't know if I did.
I don't think so.
So at 18 years old, I actually signed up to leave Canada and go to the Greek army. My mom was horrified. My father said, this is a great idea. This will help him. Because you start learning about resilience and character, and you get tested in this situation. Anyways, I tried to leave at 18 years old to go to the army, and it just didn't work out. I ended up getting another job, and then I worked at a couple of different companies, and then this opportunity came to work abroad on a cruise ship. So I was like, there was always something in me that is part of, I love the journey. I love escaping. I love getting out and traveling, because the destination isn't always like the thing for me. It's the journey itself and wanting to get out and travel and see and explore and experience. That was a very big thing for me. So yes, from 18 years old, tried to go to the Greek army. That didn't happen. At 25 years old, I got an opportunity to work at sea for celebrity cruises, and I jumped on that ASAP. I was like, I got to see the world. It was amazing. So yeah,
That's really cool. That's the kind of lifestyle I like too. Always an adventure.
Yeah.
Just like, what's next?
yes.
What did that season teach you about yourself?
It taught me a lot about the sheltered life I lived. It really, it opened up my eyes. I never, being raised in an immigrant community or a family as well, like I never tried different foods. It was Greek food. My parents wouldn't eat fast food. We would go to Swiss Chalet maybe, on occasion once every few months after church, things like this. So I was not really exposed to different foods and different cultures and people's lives. So for me, talking about real stories, it got me, I had an opportunity to meet people that were from so many different places in the world. And when I started having a conversation with someone from the Philippines, for example, and I was like, tell me about your life. So I was very curious. And I remember one person says, I work for 1 month here and it provides me with enough money to feed my family for a year.
Wow.
I'm like, oh my God. Another time, and I was like, oh, teach me something in your language. I was always fascinated by learning about other people's lives and stories. I'm like, everybody has a story. And I love what you do with this thing because we all have something to share with the world. And when I'm meeting people from the Philippines, I'm like, okay, tell me something. Like, say, how are you? And I would say, kumusta ka? Mabuti sa wala. You know, I would like, magandang umanga. And I would say these words and I would learn something like that in Filipino. And I was like, okay, this is great, Tagalog. And then I met someone from Indonesia. I was like, oh, tell me something to say. And I would hear their stories. And then I was like, they say it like this. And I would say, apa kabar? And bayuk. And I would learn these words.
Yeah.
And it allowed me to make a connection with someone because, hey, I see you. And when we share something like this, that actually perpetuated my my love for people and the stories and what each individual person brings to the world. Because there is something special within each of us. And sometimes we don't necessarily realize that.
Yeah.
And it's like, we got to figure out how to pull that out of you. Because sometimes we don't always think of ourselves as something special, but we are.
Yeah. Each person.
Each person, as much as we are each individuals, we are collective as well on a global scale. But each person has a story, has something important to share.
Yeah.
Right?
Has to be taken out and everyone learns. I hear things all the time about this podcast and then I randomly hear someone say, oh, I learned something from that. So it is important that people have a platform to share their story and what they've experienced because it helps impact others.
It truly does. And it is an amazing thing. It's like sometimes people don't think of their lives as something special. Like, I'm just nobody. It's like, hold on a second.
Yeah, wait.
You are somebody. You aren't nobody. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah.
And then when you start learning, and that was, I think that those years were so impactful for me. You know, I spent 3.5 years at sea and traveled all over the place, but it was the people, the experiences we had that really made it that much more special. I always think about this Joseph Campbell, and he talked about experience, and life is meant to be lived through experiences. And when we take that time to reflect on these experiences, you're like, wow, man, it's pretty amazing, my life. So
some of the biggest highlights I look back at aren't like necessarily Christmas morning and kids unwrapping presents. It's the travel and the trips and the memories that we put together. So much so that this Christmas I was just like, I cannot do that again next year. Like cardboard everywhere, a bunch of stuff that people don't need. So next year we're going to travel through Christmas. I cannot do it anymore.
Okay, I'll tell you, traveling through Christmas,
Oh my goodness.
we did a big trip in 2019. I took the kids out of school we did actually a 6-week trip.
Wow.
To Cambodia and to Thailand. So I took the kids out of school the 2 weeks before the holidays, the 2 weeks of the holidays, and the 2 weeks after the holidays. So a total of 6 weeks, we went and traveled. We flew into Thailand. I think we took 11 different flights that trip.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, it was amazing to go to so many different places and experience so many different things. But the hardest part was actually my son at that time was 11 years old, and Christmas Day, we were having dinner in Thailand and he was crying. He was like, I want to be home. I want the cozy fire. And it was like, oh my God, it almost broke my heart at that time. So it was also a trade-off too, because it was like, okay, well, we know that our family really loves those moments, but that experience itself really reiterated how much that they love being together and just like, okay, you know what? We'll stay home. I won't do another Christmas holiday abroad, even though that's all I want. But I'm sure they will want those Christmas holidays now as they're starting to get older. They talk about it now. So it's weird.
We've done it both ways.
Yeah.
And I agree because I like change so much. I like to, you know,
That's me.
one year we'll be there. One
Yes.
year we won't. 1 year mom needs a break.
Yeah.
But both are amazing and you can really create these unique magical experiences. It's also a bit cheaper to fly on Christmas and be away during Christmas. So what or was there a moment on the cruise ships or at sea that you would say was a life-changing moment for you?
Yes, it was. And it's people that it comes to my mind. And it's funny you say that question. You asked me that question, and a person comes to my mind. 2 people, Simon Weir and Edwin Rojas. These guys were cruise directors on the ship who saw the light within me. And they're like, hey, John, like, listen, you've got what it takes to do this. I was like, I don't think so. You know what I mean? I'm just like, who am I? I'm just this kid from Oshawa, right? They're like, no, you have what it takes to be a cruise director. I was like, I don't know. I didn't really believe in myself in that time. So the thing that stands out was those people who believed in me, who actually poured into me at that time. So this is, I think we have to be aware that the people around us are here to teach us something if we're open to listening. And meeting those people at that time in my life allowed me to believe more in myself. And it was funny because I started believing much more in myself too in those moments. And Linda, who I met, my wife at sea, we worked together on cruise ships. We met there. And I remember she told her mom, she was like, after I met Simon and Edwin, who believed in me and who helped me with this, she said to her mom, she's like, oh my God, this guy's amazing. John, he believes he can do anything, right? So it was really cute, but that's what it was, that kind of, it was the people that you meet in your life.
And the impact they have.
Man, I don't think we understand the impact and how we show up in this world, how it impacts, how it has a ripple effect.
Yeah.
Like we all have that power within us in some ways. It doesn't have to be a huge splash. It can be just a small drop of water in an ocean that has a little ripple effect.
Yeah.
But that's what we do. That's how we affect each other. If you think about, I always talk about this idea about brain neurons, right? If you look at a neuron in our brain, it has tendrils that are like tentacles of like an octopus reaching out. They're always consistently doing something like this, looking for another neuron to connect with. And it connects, and then they form the neural networks. This is how the brain chemistry works in our minds. And so we do the same thing without our tendrils. We have, I don't want to call it a psychic ability, but we have the way to communicate to someone, to connect in the same way a neuron does in our brains. We have that opportunity to do this with people around us. So that was like, when you start seeing the world in this way, hopefully it helps you with your interactions with people to make a more solid connection rather than just like surface level type of stuff.
Yeah.
That's where real strength comes into play.
Yeah.
With
I think
friends.
also, like on the flip side of that, there's also there's so many studies. There are studies of the way we speak and what we say and how it impacts us and our brain and our hearts and our mind and what actually happens. That's like the quantum stuff.
Yes.
Which I have a little booklet I'd love to give you about that.
Okay, I'm going to jump on this because there was something that Bruce Lee had said in the 1970s. He says when you're talking about yourself, the words have an impact. Whether we realize it or not, this is why he calls it a spell, right? It's spelling. It's like the way we talk to her, we can put a spell upon ourselves by the words we speak about ourselves.
Yes, you can, what you say. And for me, because of my faith, this is something I'm learning about from a actual scripture talks about this. And I've tested it a little bit, and it's freaky, but really cool.
So this is the craziness of these things. Like people, and it gets a little bit deep. It kind of gets into the weeds because there's an untangible aspect of it because you're looking for the scientific, tangible studies of all these things. And it doesn't necessarily work that way. Not everything can be measured in the same way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm with you on that.
So life-changing, you had someone speaking this life into you and seeing the light inside of John. And then it's interesting. So the ripple happens and then you're this new force and you meet this beautiful woman and then she's like, this guy can do it all. I love it. That's an example of it.
And I'll add to this thing because what happened, what going to the cruise ship allowed me to do is allowed me to be a truer version of who I am. And I say this in the sense of I was stripped away of the comforts of my life. I had no friends. I had no parents. I had no security. I knew nobody.
Yeah.
And I went at this on my own. I'm like, I can figure this thing out. We'll figure this thing out. And then I started like allowing myself to be more authentic because my friends expected me to be a certain way. The prankster who brings snakes to the schools and the guy who was at the house parties, doing other stuff. Like it was like, I was like one of those crazy guys.
Yeah.
And then I had to live up to this thing because I thought that's who all my friends expected me to be.
Yes.
So I was stripped away of all that. And I'm like, who am I really?
Yes.
And that allowed like true growth. So sometimes I often say to young kids, it's like, it's really good idea to step away from everybody and everything that you know, traveling abroad. Allowed you to become a better version of who you are. That's where like real growth starts to happen.
Yes.
So I found that out for myself when I went away. So I would always encourage young people in their 20s. It's like, you know, my parents would be like, finish school, get a job. I'm like, no, this is not my calling. I felt something different. So, stripping those things away, you start becoming more of an authentic version of who you are because those comforts are gone.
I can relate to that. And what's really interesting, so meeting my husband randomly in Beijing at the Olympics and then going on this adventure through Europe and him visiting me, but going back and going, okay, I'm going to take a little leap of faith here and see if this guy's the one. Go commit to doing German in Switzerland, learning this new language, but being a stranger in a place where you don't know anyone, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And you really start to experience yourself differently because no one's around you with this preconceived notion of who you are to show up as.
I love that.
And I was like the older daughter and the business person and la, la, la. And then I ended up staying there and doing my MBA. And my natural leadership stuff kept coming out. I won these leadership awards and like you can't hold back who you truly are. I started a women's Facebook group in Zurich that now has, I think, 1,400 people having babies for the first time in Switzerland. It's English-speaking moms in Switzerland, and we'd get together and support each other's little mini businesses and take care of each other's kids. But I ended up really leaning into who I am. I found out I love cooking. I did like a Harvard cooking class online and would make my husband lunch every day, which I don't have time for that here.
Not now, yeah.
But it's really neat how you do identify from where you grew up and who you're told you are, and then you go.
Oh man.
And you can totally detach.
Yes.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Some of my best memories are that couple of years. Well, it was 5 years, but really once I knew who I was, that last couple years, I was like, this is pretty cool.
Stripped away, complete discomfort.
Yeah.
Right? These things that we thought who we were based on stories we were told
Just don't exist anymore.
don't exist anymore. And it's funny you bring that up because what I kept hearing in what you were saying is you got outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah. And I really liked it.
Yes.
I was like, yes, no one's expecting me to do anything.
That's right. So I find this extremely fascinating with comforts that we have because comfort impedes growth. It won't help you grow if you're too comfortable doing the same thing over and over again. Listen, we know the saying. It says, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got, right? So you need to break that mold. And it's funny because the new book in our book club is called The Comfort Crisis. So it ties into all of these things.
The next book.
Yes, the next book.
I'm going to have to come to the book club.
It is like, I love
Do you do it virtually too?
I actually, this year we are, because I have someone who's in Florida who reached out to me. Is like, I would love, so all through social media, they're like, I would love to be part of this
I
book
can
club.
do it.
You can do it virtually.
I love that.
So we have someone joining from Arizona virtually. We have someone joining us from Florida virtually. We have someone who's in the book club who will be on vacation in Dominican, and they would say like, hey, I can't attend. I'm like, listen, we'll set up a virtual option for this as well. So
if people like watching this want to be a part of this Comfort Crisis book club, what should they do? Just email our front desk here, or
email the front desk, find me on social media. Like, listen, I love social media stuff to some extent. But yeah, reach out to us.
Yeah,
listen,
perfect.
You can find me on social media. Google or search up my name through Instagram, and I'm there. But there I have the link. I have the information there. Through our website, kwinsider.ca, you can find the link there. So we're doing that. Book club has been a big thing for me, and like I'm gonna riff on this before you ask me a question. I need to tell you about this book club thing that started off as when I joined as team leader. They're like, hey, John, we're doing a book club called The One Thing, and you're leading it. And I'm like, okay,
I am?
All right, let's go. So I'm like, sure, let's roll with this, and we did it. And during that time, Larry Lloyd, who has also been one of those impactful people in my life, had said, hey, listen, have you read the Inner Excellence? And he couldn't stop talking about this book. He loved it. And I was like, no. So I was like, look, the one thing is finished here. Why don't we start, a book club around inner excellence? So I took the framework that we use for for the one thing, which was given to us from Gary Keller and from head office. They actually have sessions laid out.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, well, why don't we take the inner excellence and create sessions around this in the same framework? So we did. So I broke the book down into certain sessions and we just went through it. We would meet once a week, talk about the chapters we discussed, and then had actionable items. Every time someone came to the book club, I actually gave them some paper that they would take home and do some journaling about ideas that came up in these chapters, which was great. And we had a really great turnout. And I said, okay, I had a call with Dana Gentry, and she had said that on a call, Gary Keller had said, top performers in any industry require coaching and training around 6 pillars. And those 6 pillars were life balance, time management, systems, leverage, wealth management, and health. I said, okay, this is like amazing. Why don't we take these 6 pillars and go deeper into each of them by creating a book that encompasses one of these 6 pillars and rotate it. So there's a lot of books. Yeah. So
now I have to catch up.
Yeah, you have to catch up. So one of the pillars was health, which gave me a whole bunch of different books, ideas, and the Comfort Crisis was one of them. So we are now tackling health, and the Comfort Crisis is the first book. Next, we're probably going to go into wealth, and there's a few books in there that I like, and one of them is The Psychology of Money. I've already read it, and I think it's fantastic. And then we'll get into leverage, and then we'll get into systems, and then we'll get into time management. So all these pillars, we're going to go deeper into these things to help. And this doesn't have to do with just real estate agents. I love real estate. This has been a big part of my life. But I want people to live bigger lives.
Yeah.
I want to create a room where people are like knocking on the door. I want in on these conversations. Mm-hmm. So this is what we're trying to create here. So that's why I've expanded this outline to, we're going to do a Google Meet to allow people to come into this thing. I've already created the framework for, okay, these are the chapters, these are the pages you need to read. When you're done, here's the material, here's the questions we're going to go. We're going to have roundtable discussions, and people are going to be able to share ideas.
I love that. We got to make sure the other 2 offices are invited to this.
That's a great idea. And I'll tell you, in the last book club, there was lots of tears, lots of vulnerability. It became into this, like, it was a really great group session that allowed people to share deeper stories and be able to move forward with actionable items, because we're now in this sharing circle, which I love that kind of stuff. So, sorry, I kind of took my...
I think it's great. I'm all here for it.
That was the Comfort Crisis. That's where it went from comfort of where we are in these places in our lives. And if we're too comfortable, we don't really grow.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I'm feeling that. I'm in this transition right now, and I can feel it. And I'm getting that like nudge from... I say God to like, it's like, okay, like what am I supposed to do next? One foot in front of the other. But it can be also painful sometimes to put away the old things and the old patterns or the old habits or whatever it is you've gotten comfortable with that isn't serving you any longer.
It's not supposed to be easy. That's the
It's
thing.
not?
No, it's not. Pain is mandatory. Suffering is optional. Mm-hmm. It's going to hurt, but suffering, that's optional.
Yeah.
We can choose the suffering.
Yeah, it is. It is optional. You've said, I think, one of the key things for me that when I'm looking for talent in our leadership team, and what I looked at with you, there were a couple of key things, but one of the big ones was this comment that you made around your adventurous side and also your energetic side of being that person around the pool deck that made everyone do the cha-cha or whatever, the line dancing.
Line dancing.
Oh my God. Hear
You
about this again. I love it so much. I'm just like, look, that is not an easy job. If he can do that there, he can help with everyone's morale and be that exciting, magnetic voice, because it sounds like you were kind of the voice of the ship. So I want to hear a little bit about it. Like, how did you get these people up out of their seats doing the dance?
So working for Celebrity Cruises, the majority of our guests, the average age was a 55 and over crowd. And I'm 25 years old, just a young kid. young. I was thinking I was pretty old at 25. Any 25-year-old.
Looking back, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
So quarter century ago. So getting people to dance, I just had to really get outside. Like I was being told at this time, I was a activity staff. So when you go on vacation, you go to these resorts, there's someone there doing volleyball, someone there doing this, someone, doing these types of activities. Growing up, I did folk dancing, Greek dancing. So I was part of a dance group, which was fun. This
so
was
it came second nature to you.
yeah. So I was like, oh, I can do this stuff, but I'm having to learn the boot, scoot, and boogie, and it's like this line dance, toe, heel, drum, and then I'm like, oh my
gosh,
god,
I have
it was
an
like,
idea for a future event.
and I'm just like, I got myself because one of the things I'll tell you, Jamie Lee, people didn't necessarily know me. I wouldn't see them again in 2 weeks, so that allowed me to really get like.
Really out of your comfort zone.
Yes, but because I don't care at that point anymore because they're not going to see me. But for you to see me dancing, it's like, oh my gosh, she'll always remember that. I'll see her again. She's like, you remember that time you danced? I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that. But this is the harder part for me to get over that aspect of it. But like, I just said, hey, listen, look, you know me with the elf.
When I saw that you actually made Buddy the Elf spaghetti with maple syrup, I was like, this is awesome. This is exactly who I thought he'd be.
So I am, and it comes with a caveat because it's very hard because sometimes I have to play this very carefully because there is a serious side of me.
Yes.
Well, see here, look, I'm about to get serious here in this moment. It's not all fun and games. But I think sometimes when you can get a little bit uncomfortable in this other character, we can put on these characters. At least myself, I can dress up as Buddy the Elf. But what happens is I get worried people aren't going to take me serious. So this is where for me it's like, look, I know we're in real estate. There is a serious aspect to what we do because we have we're taking someone's life potentially in our hands when we're trading real estate for them.
Yes,
we are putting
their
so
biggest
much
asset.
Yes.
Yep.
So much care and effort into helping people buy or sell a home. And I don't want people to see me as a clown. So this is an internal dialogue that I have going on in my own head. But I'm like, hey, there's a connection that also happens to allow people to see me in my fun, vulnerable state. So they see all sides of this thing. So, and I had a talk with Larry and with Billy over this thing because I was like, man, I don't want people to think of me as Buddy the Elf running around being this clown guy. But then they only see me for that because I think oftentimes people are not able to get into that uncomfortable place to be that fun, loud, boisterous person, even though they have it within them. They just, I think,
Everyone does.
Yes.
To a certain extent.
And then I'm just like, okay, let me show them that I can do this too. As the serious team leader here, as a serious real estate agent, I can be also this fun Buddy the Elf guy. So yeah.
One of the other really neat things about you is your journey in fitness and your passion around that. And there's two elements. There's health and fitness, and then there's the mindset. So I'd love to talk about the fitness piece. When did this become something really important to you in your life?
Okay. So I'll tell you because a few weeks ago we did a health and longevity seminar. We opened it up and we did a panel in the Keller Williams office here in our training center. And the question that was asked, it was a panel discussion. One of the questions was asked, like, why do you do what you do? Like, what got you into fitness? And I remember, like, I always tried to, I was a bit of a chubby kid growing up. I wasn't into fitness. I was not athletic. I was too busy chasing other things other than fitness. And I tried to, and going on the cruise ship, I remember I did the Atkins diet. I was at, it was like, this is the early, again, 2002. So, and I had lost some weight. So, but I wasn't really fit. It was just a matter of losing weight. I didn't understand health. I didn't understand fitness. I just understood losing weight.
Yeah.
And that's when Linda and I met. And then over the years, I just kind of let that go and I put the weight back on. And then I love chips and pizza. I'll admit it here. I love chips and I love pizza. And I was a guy at home. I remember I was maybe 36-ish, somewhere around that age. Our kids were a little bit young and I could just go to Little Caesars, eat a whole pizza by myself, And I was like, this is my favorite thing. I would sometimes eat 2 bags of chips at night.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So there's excess. And I didn't understand moderation. And what happened was I started seeing Linda going to the gym. I was like, oh my God. Like I started getting a little bit nervous here. I'm like, my wife is going to go to the gym and all these young guys are going to look at her and then I'm going to lose my wife. And I actually, out of fear, I started going to the gym because I said, if we don't go on parallel paths, so in life, it gets very complicated. If one person goes in this direction and the other person goes in this direction, over time, that 1% starts increasing huge. So I said, listen, she's going in this direction. I don't have to follow behind her. I can still stay parallel, but still go in the heading in the same direction in this part of our lives. So that's what got me into this thing is like that my fear of losing Linda to some younger 25-year-old guy.
You're like, I better get it. I gotta go pump some iron.
So that's what got me into the gym.
I love it.
And then I just started falling in love with this. Right? So then it's just sort of like, oh my God, I started feeling good. I was like, oh my God, I'm looking good. I'm feeling good. And that whole journey for me, that feeling was just like, that became an addiction in itself.
Yeah.
Is feeling good. Like, I think people think of the mind and the body as 2 different things. They're one unit. They work together. When the body is healthy, the mind follows.
Yeah.
Sometimes people try to fix the mind before they fix the body.
They're both linked.
They are both linked. And I think that is one of the understandings that takes time because when you get on this journey of being healthy, you understand it a little bit more intimately in the sense of my mental health is tightly correlated to my physical health.
I think there's some kind of subliminal flow happening here because the next question was, what does fitness to you mean beyond the physical? This is getting weird. Thank you for answering that before I asked.
The hard thing is I can spend hours getting deep into all kinds of subjects. And sometimes I repeat myself, but I have to really be careful of like, I can flow for a long time. And
So can I. And it's almost, I almost feel like I have to choose one. Do I want to talk about what I've learned in wealth building or relationships with my kid and husband? Or do I want to go over here and talk about what I'm learning again about health after having 4 kids? Like there's a lot.
yeah.
Which is cool.
Where do you pick and choose?
Yeah.
And I think knowing your audience, and sometimes I am having to, I'm talking too much. As Billy was like, John, you're doing your TED Talk again. I'm like, okay, now's not the time. All right, pull back a little bit. We're pivoting over here.
TED Talk.
But but he kept cutting me off on the because he was the moderator on the panel, and he's like, all right, John, we heard you. It's time for someone else to talk. I'm like, all right, sorry. but there is a chemical reaction that happens when we get physical, and there's something called a brain-derived neurotropic factor that sometimes it's a runner's high people feel, but there is this thing that is just like, oh my God, I feel great. And I get addicted to this feeling. And a lot of people don't know I was a smoker for many years. So people are like, you're into health and fitness. Yes. And I smoked for a while and I didn't know how I would feel when I quit smoking. So you smoke, you quit, and you're like, okay, I feel better. I feel good. And then you start smoking again. You're like, oh my God, was I feeling like this all the time? Because going from feeling good to smoking and feeling like crap, it's like,
wow, my body didn't even know because it was happening every day.
Yes.
You come out of it and then you go back and it's like, ugh.
Exactly. That's what had happened to me. And I was like, oh my God, I cannot stop this fitness thing that I'm on, this journey. And it doesn't have to be crazy.
Yeah.
It's the one thing I think people think they're like, they bite off more than they can chew.
Yeah, just little pieces.
It is little pieces.
Yeah.
And you compound. There's a compound effect that happens with this thing. It's like one step at a time. And I love group fitness. For me, group fitness is a big thing. Being part of the CrossFit gym, in 2016, I joined a gym called CrossFit Dioxide. And it was amazing. It was, I've never done CrossFit before. So I got into this environment and I was just like, oh my God, this is like, I'm with people we're all shared growth. We're all here for the same reason. We're all here to grow through fitness and increase our lifts, increase our run times. Just, there was a growth-minded aspect to this gym. And I just fell in love with this. So much so that I'm participating like, these are my people in my community. people would come in and I would have conversations with people who walked in for the first time and they're like, "Are you the owner?" I'm like, "No, I just love this so much. I'm sharing the love I have for this thing."
Yeah.
And that becomes a contagious thing when we're working this. So if you have something that you're fairly passionate about and someone else that has some inkling of this idea, whatever it may be, wealth building, fitness, parenting, being a spouse, and they have an inkling of this and you talk to them about that thing that triggers that thing, it automatically becomes this real solid connection that you can grow with. So when people were walking into the gym and I'm talking to, and again, I'm at the new gym that I'm at, people are like, "Are you a trainer here?" They're thinking I'm part of the staff. And I was like, "No, I just love this so much so that I want to share in how good I feel with everybody else around me."
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's very true. And that other piece that we were talking about with the mind and the physical body, I was going to say something because what you hit on about some people try and fix the mind and then go to the body, and it does really have to be all at the same time because they impact each other.
Yes.
And the heart. We didn't talk about
it's
that.
It's funny you say that because the mind and the heart, people will be very much, and I think I talked to one of the agents here, Karen, about being, people are sometimes too much in the mind, sometimes too much in the heart. And I think they need to, there's usually a disconnect with people. The heart doesn't speak to the mind doesn't speak to the heart. And you have to have, it's a two-way street. You have to have an open communication between both.
Yes.
And I think that's missing in a lot of times because there's a passion aspect of it. And sometimes people are too passionate and not getting in here. And sometimes people are too intellectual and not passionate enough. And if you can tie these things, you start finding that power within yourself.
Yeah.
That is amazing. Once you find that path and find that power, I don't want to say you become unstoppable, but
That's
it
when
almost
quantum
feels,
faith kicks in.
It almost feels that way.
It's like nothing stops you.
Yeah.
It's a force.
Yeah.
And then your physical body goes with it.
Yes.
And you've got to be in this healthy state. I'm going to jump into a question about what do you love most about training others? And I'm not talking about in the gym. That might be part of it, but teaching others now, working with others to improve their business or their mental health or their physical health. What's your favorite thing about that?
Well, I would say when people come to you and say, "Thank you," I think just like, I didn't think of myself this way, or I didn't think this was possible. I think just turning that light on in someone's mind to show them, or to shine a light in the corner of their recesses of their mind, shine a light over into that corner and let them know, like, that's possible. You can go there. If you believe in yourself, and again, this believing in thing is whether it's a placebo effect, I don't know what it is. I don't know how it works, but I know it works.
It does.
There's a faith thing that's tied to it. There's a belief thing. There is so much power within that. So I love that when you can help someone change their lives for the better, I don't see anything better than that in life in general, right? I think that comes down to being in service.
For sure.
In my office, I have a thing that says, "Love everyone, serve everyone, be here now." So loving everyone, I'm really passionate about loving everyone. I learned a lot that love is the answer. And that was one of those things that opened my eyes. It was a saying I probably heard, but just never really paid attention to. But when you start loving everyone, wow, do things really change? When you're in service of others. And again, that service doesn't have to be at the cost of your own well-being. It doesn't have to be what people sometimes will call suicidal empathy, because people can be so much empathetic towards something that they would kill themselves for the empathy of others. It's not what it's about.
Yeah.
But loving everyone, serving everyone, and being present in the moment, that's a mantra I have in my office. I try my best to always live by those tenets.
And I can see that. And I think another piece that you may or may not know that was so interesting to me was you're talking about your kids. So the first time we met, you brought me this little green booklet.
Yeah.
And it was the gratitude book. I've actually pulled it back off my bookshelf and put
beautiful.
it on my desk.
The 5-year journal.
Yeah. Yeah. And just every day having a thought about what you were grateful for that day. And I think it's like 5-year journals with, every single day of the year, and you do it every day, as often as you can.
As often as you can.
But I'd love to hear about your journey in parenting, and that's the greatest lesson, I think, personally. And you become a natural teacher, provider. You fill with love in the most unexpected ways. It tests your patience. I mean, it's just, it's always something. What has parenting taught you about yourself?
Man, I can't, I get so emotional when I talk about my kids, man. Becoming a parent is the greatest gift. It's taught me so much about myself, taught me to be resilient, taught me to be patient. I heard something a while back that oftentimes we are raised with a lot of trauma. All of us. We don't escape the world trauma-free. Traumas can be micro traumas. They can be, they call them little t, big T traumas. What I've learned through being a parent was that I can heal my own inner child by being the parent that I needed for myself to be that parent for my child. And that was a very big thing because I was a fairly sensitive child. I had a tough upbringing with immigrant parents that were afraid of the world that they were in. It was foreign to them. They didn't know. They spoke a different language. It was challenging. They were like, you can't do this. You can't go there. We had no sleepovers. You could only sleep over at your cousin's house. We never had real friends outside of the community. It was a tough way to grow up in the 80s, 70s, and 80s. But what I tried to do is to be that parent to my children that I needed as that sensitive kid. But it taught me to resist. There is something I came across, parental attribution error. All right. This is a term Chris Williamson used in a podcast called the Modern Wisdom Podcast. And he talked about who we are today. Sometimes we will blame our parents for the way we are, for all the hardships that we've endured. But we also have to thank them for the resilience and who we have become, because there's a lot of great lessons. I can look back at my past and say, you can blame my parent. You didn't do this and you did this. And I can look at all those things. And if I focus on those things, all I do is focus on the negative.
And it impacts your mind
Jesus
and your heart
does it ever.
And your body.
So it's a ripple effect of all these things. But when you start focusing on the great things about it, it starts changing the way you impact your parenting style and impact the world around you. But parenting, there's a lot of patience involved in this. It tests you. Jamie Lee, I have never been tested so much before in my past. And I'm sure every parent can attest to this thing. They say it's amazing. You have children and it's like when we were having the children at such a young age, we couldn't do anything. We were stressed. I wanted to do this. I wanted to do that. And I can't do everything. I was like, okay, this is the season of taking care of these children that I have right now, that I can focus my time, energy, and effort into helping them be the great humans that we can leave behind in somewhat of a legacy. So, man, I don't even know where to go in this sense, but my children have surprised me so much so that, like I said, my daughter is she's 15 years old. And people would always say, at 13 years old, your daughter changes. She's like, they don't talk to you. If you're a guy, if you're a dad, they don't talk to you. I'm like, man, I don't know if it's because she's very much like me, but she's like my best friend, right? It is amazing. And my son, he's like that other best friend that I have too, that is just like, he's 17 years old. He just did his grade 12 math exam. And he's like, man, he goes, I was so close. I almost got 100% on my math exam in grade 12 math. He goes, I got 99%. I was like,
brilliant.
Oh, God, yes. But he was waking up early in the morning, going to the gym. He was riding his bike at 5. He would wake up at 5:30 when he was like 16 years old, ride his bike to the Whitby Community Center, go work out, come home, shower, get ready, go to school, do his studies. He was doing all of these things that we do. And so I'm trying to set them up for success.
Yeah.
Through taking care of your body was a big thing. And the mind kind of follows. When you create these disciplinary habits, you can start seeing the ripple effect of where it shows up. So Yeah. I love my kids so much. And it's like your heart truly lives outside of you when you become a parent.
It really does. And that would lead into the next question. If you've got a tip, or how do you balance ambition with presence in your kid's life? And what would you recommend to people who are in this industry and how to really protect that sacred time with them?
That is very tough. And that has challenged me all these years. I've always prioritized my family and my children's well-being before I prioritize anything else, because I can't serve people if I'm serving from an empty cup in some way. So the fulfillment that comes, like I have to make sure that they are taken care of. I really try to be present as much as I possibly could. And that did impact how much money I did make, because I didn't work as much as I could have or should have. And I thought of this as a season. So I think we talked about this early on, that I poured so much into helping them and not becoming that helicopter parent or bulldozer parent, any of these things. I tried my best to instill skills and values into them that help them lead their lives into their own ways, right? Take care of themselves, but be there to support them wherever I could. So I felt I did so much at that point. Now that this season of parenting is kind of over, it will never be over, but my son being 17, he can drive. He takes his sister to school. They've become very close, the two of them, which is an amazing thing. And now it's like, okay, now I can start pouring in a different way to the people that I can surround myself with here at Keller Williams. My wife says, John, for the last 10 years, you've been reading, listening to podcasts, you've been working out, you've been doing all these things. At the same time, you've been doing business, parenting. I was doing all of these things. And now coming into here, I can start pouring back into the people. But when you're in it, it's so hard to be able to balance this. It never truly is a balance. And I think sometimes this life balance is a bit of a myth, because it's going to be a season of this balance.
Yes.
You have to be all in somewhere else. And it's like, hey, listen, guys, I'm sorry. I can't really pay attention to you right now. If my daughter wanted to talk to me, it's like, I cannot listen 100%. Give me a moment. I'll get back to you, because I really care about what you say. And I need to give you 100%. But I got to finish this thing first. And once I'm done here, then I can come to you and give you 100%. Because if I'm doing half and half each one, I'm not serving anybody at that point.
Exactly. I would say the same. I think what we have to do, because there's two other things that I would love to do another second part 2 podcast with you on, and it would be spirituality and meaning. And then diving into this quantum stuff, because I think we could really do a whole other piece. But I also want to layer into that conversation about cool travel spots and like fun things to do as families with kids, either locally or abroad, to really layer in that quality of life along the busy road. I think there'd be so many things that people would take from that. And I don't want to feel like we're rushing it.
No, but I'm going to leave this, because I think a lot of times when it comes to business and it comes to parenting, sometimes people will like, I have to work. It's like, listen, man, I took 5 weeks off in some of my busiest seasons. And some people are like, how could you leave 5 weeks? I'm like, listen, I had to have someone else take care of my business while I was gone, because the priority was being a parent to these young children present. That needed me in these moments. Yeah. That moment is gone.
Yeah.
Business will come afterwards. But that moment when the kids are like 6, 7, 8 years old, those moments are gone and you can't get them back. That's where I prioritize that aspect of it, because I would lose, $10,000, $20,000 in business because I was away. But I had to create that foundation in those memories with those children. So yeah, we can talk more about that. But that was like, as soon as you said that, it made me think of that, because I had conversations that are like, what? You lost how much money? And I was like, potentially. But my priority is not the money right now. It's my children.
Yes.
If I plan on being here longer, I can work harder afterwards. That's okay. But they're only here for a short time.
It's true. So let's make sure that we start with that. We're going to dive into the family relationship conversation, because that I think is so critical, that people running these businesses really take care of as the main priority. And then obviously the spirituality would be a great conversation to add. And I'd love to talk about the quantum if you know about it, because it's pretty freaking cool. We can talk about some examples that maybe we've experienced in that. I want to close this. This is the first time I've done this where we're going to do a part 2, but I really think we need to do another hour.
I've always told you when we start, like, Jamie Lee, how much time do you got? I'm worse than Larry. I'm worse than Larry. So like, don't put the two of us anywhere near anybody.
What do you feel right now that you're most proud of becoming?
I don't know. That's a tough question. What am I most proud of? Just being my authentic self. Pride it's a double-edged sword. It can be very challenging, but I just love being the true version of myself. I think that's the whole thing. People like, what you see is what you get. There's an authentic version. I want to make sure I maintain that and keep that. I don't want to become anybody other than who I am.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes it's like Brian McRobert was here teaching about the Buddha that was covered in clay. And it's a whole other story that we can go deeper into, which was a very interesting story itself. But uncovering that version of who you are, I think I'm most proud of just staying authentic and not letting the outside influence the inside. We can go into stoicism and stuff like this afterwards, but that's also another.
Okay. I think we'll be able to go deep on number 2, because I found out at the beginning of this, you wanted to be a marine biologist, and that was my dream.
Okay.
I wanted to take care of dolphins.
What else was the dream? What else did we talk about with that thing that we had connected with? And then what did you go to school for?
Oh yeah, that was my second part. I went and did my major in philosophy.
Yeah.
In my undergrad, which is like really wild. So I'll have to pull out my old books.
And we talked about it, and I was like, if I could go back to school right now, someone asked me that, what would you do? I'm like, I think I want to go into philosophy and psychology. This is kind of like the stuff that fascinates me.
Yeah.
And then you said to me, you're like, oh my God, that's what I did my undergrad at. I was like, oh my God, it's so cool. Yeah.
Really interesting.
Crazy.
Well, thank you for your time. We're going to end it here, and we're going to do a part 2, another hour with John. And if they want to find you on social media, what would they search?
My name, John Kehagias. There's another guy his name is John Kehagias, but that's my cousin.
You'll recognize him.
You'll recognize me by me. It's
or there's the team leader KW Energy one as well.
So at John Kehagias on Instagram.
Perfect.
John Kehagias on Facebook, and the team leader. What is it? It's at teamlead.kw. Yeah.
And then the book club, if they want to join, it's the kwinsider.ca. And they can click on energy and they'll get the links. When is that book club?
February 5th.
Perfect.
And if this comes out afterwards, you can still join in. Listen, you can join it at any time. Even if you are coming in late, you've missed the first half, it's okay. You can come and pick up wherever we are.
Wonderful.
It's excellent discussions. This is the room you need to be in.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And look forward to doing this again.
Thank you so much.
Okay.